Of the Castrol National Superbike Series, the Suzuki McBride Cycle Match Races. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 12th year of Castrol Canada motorcycle road racing action. I'm Pat Gonzalez along with Craig Hill, and Craig, we're getting set to cover the Pro 600 production and superbike races from right across Canada.
Yes, Pat, and I guess the weatherman hasn't been too cooperative today. We've got sprinkles, we've got sort of gray skies, but the riders seem to be coping with it very well. And of course, our series this year looks great. We're going to be in other provinces, be out in Alberta next week, go down on to Nova Scotia and Quebec and back here in Ontario. So I think it's going to be an outstanding series, and of course all the riders are looking for that one thing, that big #1 plate and the big payoff at the end of the year.
Well, we'll be focusing on two classes, Pro 600 production, for basically box stock machines as they come off of the dealer's showroom. It's really a two-manufacturer battle between Honda's CBR 600 F2 and the machine that won the championship last year, Yamaha's FZR 600. The Honda riders, you have to look at Steve Mckissock from Vancouver, British Columbia. He's had some good rides in the United States, has been fast here in practice and in qualifying. And also Mark Kowalski. The conditions here at Shannonville today may be to his liking. He's been very fast in the wet. As far as the Yamaha riders are concerned, the defending national champion Lindley Clark is back. He'll be sporting the #1 plate on his fast racing school machine. Another one of the Yamaha riders to watch is Peter Wilson. He'll be on the number 16 Yamaha. Peter's also had some impressive runs so far this year. In the superbike class, all four of the major Japanese manufacturers are represented. The Suzuki machine is brand new, and Jeff Gaynor, number 28, will be on one of those brand new liquid-cooled Suzuki 750s, a fast motorcycle built by Mike Crompton. He had a good run here yesterday in qualifying. As far as the Kawasaki's are concerned, well, the #1 plate is on their machine, and that, of course, is Steve Mckissock, the defending Canadian National Superbike champion. The Yamaha machine of Lindley Clark, well, it's a brand new machine as well, completely rebuilt by Rick Hobbs, sporting a new chassis, a new motor, and a whole lot of carbon fiber parts to lighten up that machine. Honda has its RC30 machine back in the series this year. The #1 rider, and that, of course, will be veteran Ruben McMurder. Ruben started the year as a team manager with Jacques Gannett Jr., but since has decided to ride the RC30 himself. And with the light rain, the superbike teams will be making tire decisions in order to get all of their horsepower onto the racetrack. Here's Craig with more.
This is the final equation in that horsepower chain that Pat Gonzalez was talking about. This is a Dunlop slick. You can see by its mushroom type of configuration, as the rider rolls the bike over into the corner, he always has that little contact patch. And when Pat and I talk about riding on the edge, that means it's only this much of the tire is touching the road. So it's important that the right combination between rider and tire compound is there all the time for them. But today, all this technology, all the different compounds that have been available to these riders over the last 2 days, it goes out the window because it's raining out. So they'll have to go to either an intermediate compound or a wet compound.
Today's superbike race is unique in that in addition to our Castrol National Superbike riders, race organizers have invited the Wera Formula USA Monster machines for their third round in the Wera Formula USA Series. These riders can run machines much larger than we run here in Canada, as big as 1,300 cc's, putting out some 165 to 170 horsepower.
But Pat, all that horsepower wasn't enough in yesterday's Superbike Heat Race, where Steve Mckissock on the #1 Kawasaki ran away from the monster Suzukis, taking the 2 Sunoco Gold Championship points and the pole position with the win.
In the Pro 600 production qualifying heat, tragedy struck early as number 13, Yves Brissaud, crashed coming out of the final turn on the opening lap. He took a hard tumble, and number 32, Don Monroe, also crashed on the pit straight in that incident. After the track was cleaned up and the race restarted, number 10, Steve Mckissock, and number 1, defending champion Lindley Clark, had a terrific race for the lead. Clark had the lead early, but then Mckissock was able to get around, and on the last lap with Mckissock leading and Clark closely following in second, Lindley Clark crashed in the slow left-hander at Allen's Corner, giving Steve Mckissock his first pole position and those all-important 2 national championship points. The light rain continues to fall here at Shannonville Motorsport Park, but we'll be back in just a moment with our first race, the Pro 600 Production National Final. Welcome back to Shannonville Motorsport Park and the Castrol McBride Cycle Suzuki match races. The riders have just completed their warm-up lap in preparation for our Pro 600 production final. One of the riders to watch will be Lindley Clark, number 1, the defending national champion. He fell in the qualifier yesterday. He'll be making a quick charge to the front. Now here's Craig Hill with the front row of the grid.
And on the pole is Vancouver's Steve Mckissock, then it's Mark Kowalski, Peter Wilson, and first-year pro rider Owen Weichel.
Starting on the inside of row 2 is Don Monroe, Kevin Graham, and another Nova Scotia rider in Clyde McDonald, all on Hondas. Row number 3 has James Perot on a Kawasaki, rookie Tim Sampson, Mark Mazenov, and Mike Hammond on a Yamaha. Row 4, there's the defending champion Lindley Clark, Bob Evans, 126, and Sean Smythe, number 65. Still a light rain falling here. You can see the wet racetrack as the riders rev these 600cc machines, and we're away. The charge into turn 1. It'll be 54 Kowalski grabbing the early lead, and now we go on board with Lindley Clark as he runs in the middle of that pack. Clark starting at the back, but he's carving his way to the front. Into turn 2, Monroe on the inside will take over that second place position. The riders now testing the racetrack, just trying to see how much traction they have for these treaded DOT tires. Trying to keep those motorcycles as upright as possible to get through the corners. There's Clark on the charge. He'll move around Owen Weichel as Lindley Clark has moved up into the 5th place position, but it's very, very close here on this opening lap. Clark to the outside of 88, Clyde McDonald looking to pick up another position, and right with that group is the rookie number 12, Owen Weichel, and Weichel now will move around both Clark and McDonald, and Clark goes around McDonald, and here goes Clark around Weichel. Boy, did they swap it back and forth.
Well, Pat, I'm impressed with number 54, Mark Kowalski. That's the Ruben McMurder Racing Honda CBR 600, and Mark is really riding aggressively in these slippery conditions.
We go on board with Lindley Clark one more time as he closes on his fast racing school teammate, number 16, Peter Wilson. Clark trying to go up to the outside, and I believe he has made the pass. So Lindley Clark, now he closes on the number 12 machine right behind rookie Owen Weichel aboard that high-mech Saws Honda, and Clark challenging Weichel as they go into the hairpin. There's Kowalski, then Monroe, and oh, Clark running wide at the hairpin. He gets shuffled back into the 4th place position. 16, Wilson right behind him in 5th. And then McDonald, number 88, runs 6th. The freight train of production machines down the back straightaway here at Shannonville. You can see all of the water that's being thrown up off of the tires. There's Clark holding on to 4th. Then it's 16, Wilson in 5th. Lindley Clark on the Yamaha, the defending national champion in Pro 600 production racing. He, of course, came here to Shannonville a year ago. Oh, and number 54, Kowalski has crashed coming into Allen's corner. It looked like he just locked up the front end under braking. Kowalski is up, appears to be okay, running over to that machine with thoughts of perhaps trying to get back into this one.
Well, let's have another look at that, Pat. Kowalski overcooks it going into Allen's corner for the first time, and the front wheel loses traction. That's because he locked the brakes up. And you know, it's kind of funny because I just spent a whole day at the Nissan skid pad here at Shannonville relearning some of the techniques necessary for wet weather panic stops with Brett Goodman and Charlie Goodman. And I can tell you, Pat,
place rider right now, number 16, Peter Wilson. There we go on board with Lindley Clark. You can see the conditions still very difficult, and Weichel and Clark side by side into turn 2. And Weichel will hold off Lindley Clark, who's trying to push that Yamaha around the rookie Owen Weichel. And again, they run wheel to wheel on the short chute as they come into turn number 3. Neither rider wanting to give an inch, but it is Clark finally able to get through into that 2nd place position. But here comes Weichel back on the inside, and now finally Clark is able to shake the rookie Weichel as they head up to turn 5. Less than a lap to go, but you can see these riders pushing the traction on these motorcycles right to the limit. Clark got it with a big slide that time coming out of turn 4.
well, you can see the different line that Clark runs over Owen Weichel there, Pat. He runs a much wider line, and that's so he can get out where the road is clean. But you know, this track at Shannonville has a tendency to puddle, and you got to be awful careful that you don't get your front wheel in one of those, or down you'll go.
Lindley Clark has come back strong here today after the fall in the heat race, and he is closed right up on Don Monroe. There you can see the different line out of the hairpin. Here is the battle for fourth, and 871. James Perot has put the Kawasaki around
Number 16, Peter Wilson, to take over fourth. Perot just ahead of Wilson, number 16, who gets dropped back into fifth now. Off the end of the back straightaway, 32, Don Monroe by just a couple of bike lengths. Lindley Clark closing as they run it through the chicane for the final time. Here comes Monroe trying to hold on. Number 1, Lindley Clark, late breaking into Allen's corner. He's to within a bike length, but Monroe will hold him off. It's still number 12, Weichel, running back in third. The checkered flag will be out. Just one corner to go. Halifax, Nova Scotia's Don Monroe on the Honda will win it. It'll be number 1, Lindley Clark in second, and there is rookie Owen Weichel. A good ride to finish in third, but Don Monroe turning in a superb ride here at Shannonville.
And that's Don Monroe getting the first win of the year, edging out the number 1 plate holder, Lindley Clark, with rookie Owen Weichel in third, followed by Perot and Wilson.
Fine ride for James Perot on the lone Kawasaki in the event. It's Clyde McDonald in sixth on a Honda. Tim Sampson, Kevin Graham, the pole sitter Mckissock in ninth, and Mark Maisonneuve in 10th. All of those riders on Hondas. And we'll be back at Shannonville with round number 1 of the Castrol National Superbike Series.
The Castrol Suzuki McBride Cycle Match Races. The riders have completed their warm-up laps in preparation for our featured event. One of the riders to watch is WERA Formula USA points leader Chuck Graves. He'll start in the back row after falling in the qualifier yesterday. Steve Crevier starts on the pole position, but the conditions are completely different from what he won his heat race in yesterday. Now here's Craig Hill with the front row of the grid.
And the pole sitter Crevier has elected to start on the outside of row 1. That's opposite to a dry weather start position. Second on the grid is the Texan Michael Martin, and he's aboard one of those 1300cc Suzukis. Third is another Suzuki rider, Canadian Jeff Gaynor, on a 750cc Superbike. And fourth, starting on the inside of row 1, is a past Canadian champion, Ruben McMurder, on an RC30.
Michael Taylor starts on the inside of row 2, along with Lindley Clark and American Lee Schertz on one of the big Suzukis. Don Jacks, American rider, another big Suzuki machine. Benoit Pilon, Al Salavarria, and Michael Graves. Kurt Hall, Don Green, and Joe Brett Williams on a Honda make up row 4. Row 5, William Himmelsbach, Rick Tripodi, Steve Wykes, and Mark Kowalski in that 5th row. Row number 6, it is Mike Marcelli, James Perot, and Owen Weichel. And then back in the 7th row, Keith Code, the American, on a Yamaha 250, Clyde McDonald, Mark Maisonneuve, and Colin Snyder. Then it's American Jim Botter, Peter Marsh from Newfoundland, and Michael McNeil, number 61, on a Suzuki. Klaus Morley, rookie Jeff Robb, number 404. Chuck Graves, there he is. 65X is Sean Smythe, and the lone rider in row 10 is Dave Klassen on a Yamaha. Riders revving up these machines. There's McMurder wanting to get this one underway. Doesn't want to overheat the motor. They rev them up here on the starting line. A real combination of different tires, front and rear. Some riders with intermediates and slicks. And we're green and away. The charge to turn number 1 on the big roar goes up here at Shannonville, and you go on board with Benoit Pilon aboard the Manette Sport Yamaha, right in the thick of that lead battle, and there goes Mike Taylor, number 15, around Benoit Pilon. There's McMurder taking the lead with a beautiful outbreaking job at turn 2, but Crevier comes underneath with the Kawasaki to retake the lead. So a nice move there by Crevier on the short chute as they come into the carousel. Oh, and Mike Taylor has crashed. Michael Taylor going for a hard tumble off of turn 4. He is up right away. He appears to be okay, but Mike will be disappointed with that turn of events. He was moving up in the pack.
And here's another look at that first lap come off by Michael Taylor from onboard Benoit Pilon's bike. Taylor is just in front of the white bike, and he takes a very wide line through corner 4. It looks like he's got himself onto the loose material on the edge of the track and couldn't hold the bike up. And that's a real tough break for the talented Kawasaki rider, Pat.
While the second half of Team Kawasaki leads this event as we look at the battle for second between 24X Ruben McMurder and number 28 Jeff Gaynor. They go through turn 8 into the top of the S's. There's Crevier, number 1, your race leader. Coming into turn 9 now. He's opened up about a 10-12 bike length lead. And now it is rider number 26, Lindley Clark, who will move up to give us a 3-way fight for second. And then we've got some tremendous racing further back. And oh, there's Michael Martin, number 96, the Texas rider, on one of the WERA Formula USA machines. It looks like he is going to have to park it. Crevier, McMurder, then 28 Gaynor, then number 26, Lindley Clark. on the Fast Racing School Yamaha, running back in the 4th place position. Crevier into Allen's corner, still holding about a 12 bike length lead. And now Lindley Clark all over Jeff Gaynor for that 3rd place position. The race between the Suzuki and the Yamaha 750s. Then a bit of a gap back to a tremendous pack, and right in the middle of that pack is 163 Benoit Pilar as he closes on number 21 Lee Schertz. But you can see Schertz on the more powerful 1300 Suzuki able to pull away on the straightaway, but there's Pilar as they go into the corner. He goes underneath of Schertz to take over what will be the 5th place position. So 163 Benoit Pilar having a great ride. There is the 60 machine of Kurt Hall. Some of the other Americans a little bit further back. 71 Joe Pittman on a Yamaha 250, but it's Crevier, your leader. 24 with just a little X there, the red and white Honda, Ruben McMurder, and there's 28, Jeff Gaynor, just really pushing that Suzuki to stay up with McMurder's Honda as they go into the S's. Ruben McMurder just ahead of Jeff Gaynor. This is the race for 2nd as they come through turn number 9 of the S's. McMurder just ahead of 28 Gaynor, and that is a tremendous race. A little bit of a gap back to the 4th place rider. That would be 26, Lindley Clark. And look at this action. A little bit further back, Pittman, number 71, has moved around the 21 machine of Lee Schertz. And on the straightaway, problems, Craig, with the 28 machine of Jeff Gaynor.
Well, it looks like he might have some electrical problems, Pat, but look at this battle for 5th position going on out there.
The Sony Handycam puts us right with Benoit Pilar as he has been passed for 5th. American Al Salavarria on the Aprilia has moved up to 5th, but a crash. Lee Schertz, 21.
Oh, and that hurts, Pat.
That is the 53 machine of Joe Brett Williams, Santa Rosa, California rider, crashing along with fellow American 21, Lee Schertz.
Well, Pat, you got to remember that there's little puddles still left out there on the racetrack, and that's probably what took those other 2 riders down. You know, you touch one of those puddles, and the front wheel just kicks right out from underneath you.
Here is the race for 5th between 26 Lindley Clark and 71 Joe Pittman, and Pittman will ride around on the inside. As we look back, there is 71 Pittman in 5th, Clark number 26, now being pushed back into the 6th place position. He did run up as high as 4th earlier, and there is Schertz, 21, being lapped by Crevier. It looks like he is going to take it into the pit. Steve Crevier, number 21, your race leader. There is Schertz, number 21, just coasting around the racetrack. And now Al Salavarria, number 22, has moved up into 3rd, and he's challenging McMurder for that 2nd place position. It's the Canadian 750 Honda Superbike up against the 250cc Aprilia Grand Prix machine of the Wira Formula USA Series, and they're having a great battle for 2nd overall. Just in back of this pair, you see 163 Benoit Pilar, who holds the 4th place position at the moment. Here comes McMurder fighting to hold on to 2nd, the front wheel in the air, hard on the brakes, downshifting as he comes through Allen's corner and into turn 15, but McMurder really being pushed by the top Wira Formula USA rider right now.
Okay, now we've got 2 tight races going on at the same time. That's McMurder and Salavarria in 2nd and 3rd, and just behind is number 163 Pilon and 71 Pittman. 2 riders racing for 4th.
There's McMurder just ahead of Salavarria as he tries to go through on the inside, and he will. Salavarria taking over that 2nd place position overall, and he's the lead Wira Formula USA machine. And here comes Pittman all over Pilar. He tries him up to the outside, and Pittman will move his Yamaha around into the 4th place spot. So some great racing all the way through the top 10.
And there's the standings with Crevier leading, Salavarria 2nd, Ruben McMurder 3rd, Pittman 4th, and Benoit Pilon in 5th spot.
Clark, Graves, Paul, Tripodi, and Himmelsbach rounding out the rest of the top 10. And there is Salavarria trying to shake McMurder. Oh, McMurder, big crash coming out of turn 9. The motorcycle goes sliding. Pittman goes around the outside of McMurder, who's still sitting in the middle of the racetrack, and he's definitely favoring the wrist. Oh, 404 Jeff Roth has also crashed. There may be some oil down on the racetrack, but McMurder definitely favoring the wrist. There's the RC30 that's lying on its side. Oh, 2 more riders going down. That's Chuck Graves, 24. Lindley Clark also crashing here along with Kurt Hall. Red flags are out.
Well, Ruben is in obvious pain holding on to his right arm, and we'll be back with more of the match races right after this. Back to the Canadian National Superbike Series. I'm Craig Hill along with Pat Gonzalez, and we're about ready to have a restart after that crash by the Canadian Reuben McMurder. We'll try to show you a replay as soon as we get going again.
Light on green, the charge into turn number 1. Chuck Graves, 24, has grabbed the early lead. That red flag may have been a big break for Chuck Graves, who was working his way up through the field after starting in the...
He gets sideways. He does a monster high side onto his right arm, and the medical report is that he's broken his right wrist and was shaken up, but other than that, he's okay.
The last lap flag is out here at start-finish, and despite the fact that that accident with McMurder brought out the red flag, stopped the race, Crevier has turned in another great charge. Here's 163, Benoit Pilot, running in the third place position, just ahead of Steve Weitz. And oh, there's Joe Pittman, number 71. Had been running up in 5th. He's off the track, but I think he'll be able to hold on to the position. Oh, and Rick Tripodi, number 1C, is parking at Tripodi on the Aprilia. Has run into some problems late in this one. Crevier, just a couple of corners to go. Through Allen's corner, little bit of a wheelie from the Kawasaki as he's about 100 yards away from the checkered flag. Here comes Crevier, a wheelie as he comes to the line. Checkered flag for the win. Steve Crevier with a very impressive run here at Shannonville.
And it's final with Steve Crevier starting off where he ended last year with another win, followed by Graves, Pilon, Weitz, and Pittman.
Hall, Salaveria, Smythe, Clark, and Code round out the top 10. Now here's Craig Hill with the race winner.
It was just a great day for me. I'm very pleased to start the year this way. I've never started off so well.
Well, you proved that you're still the champion, Steve. Way to go.
Thank you very much.
One of his best finishes ever. Ben